Welcome back. On your screen, visuals of full military honors being given to those who lost their lives in that unfortunate accident yesterday. The mortal remains will be brought to Delhi later this evening. The last rites of CDS Rawat and his wife will be performed tomorrow in the national capital. We are now joined by our guests, Col DPK Pillay, Lieutenant General Raj Kadian and Major General Sivach. Major General Sivach, before the break you were making a point about how critical it is for the government to choose who is going to be the next CDS and the criteria on which that decision would be based. If you could please continue. Right. We'll come back to Major General Sivach. Col DPK Pillay, if I could toss the same question to you now.
Yeah, first and foremost, it's very important. I'd like to make a point here. I've not heard many U.S. Air Force chiefs or NATO chiefs dying in an air crash. I think first and foremost there has to be a absolute, because it's not Siachen Glacier or the Himalayas or Arunachal Pradesh, in a place like Ooty where the altitude is about 7,000 feet. You can't have an air crash, and that too with somebody as important as the first CDS of the country who was overseeing such great reforms and who was the right man for the right job at the right time, taking the right decisions. And this, I think, first and foremost, an inquiry has to be fixed. Has to be made public to understand how can, in a place like Ooty, which is not under any threat of any other kind, that you had an air crash. I think that's foremost for us, because we don't hear U.S. Air Force One crashing or the other things, because these are the same helicopters used for our other VVIPs, and it's scary to think that something like this could have happened. And the criteria for selection, the question that you asked me about the criteria for selection of the CDS, I used to be handling as the planning officer defense in the Ministry of Defense after the Kargil war. I was the one who handled the group of ministers report that oversaw implementing those 72 recommendations that pertain to the Ministry of Defense, out of which 8 pertain to the CDS. And very clearly, there was no consensus amongst the political parties to have a CDS at all, because they thought the single point authority amongst granting single authority to one single person would be detrimental in a democracy. And it's this government that actually trusts the reform from top down, and it made sure that you had the CDS, and the CDS, General Rawat, had the vision to understand what was required of the tri-service organization that is there. Like Major Maroof Raza mentioned, that 71 is the epitome of jointmanship, and thereafter we floundered a little bit in 87, and thereafter we've actually seen little problems that have come up. And this jointmanship and the theaterization and the integrated brigades, battle groups that are coming up, were all a step in the right direction. And now, if you see the CDS go 2 hats, one is as the Permanent Secretary, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, and also as the Secretary DMA, in addition to being the single point advisor.
Col Pillay, I'm extremely sorry to interrupt you. We'll continue this discussion, but we really need to slip into a very short break right now.